Hi, everyone. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to do a retirement investment calculator. You should be downloading this file from Google Classroom. So do that and come back and hit play again. So let's go through what's basically going on here. This is going to be your age. We'll have this long table here. I'm going to double click between A and B when I see the left right arrow, and it'll auto size it for that. Balance, I'm going to go over, and deposit. I'm just going to make all of these smaller. We'll have to do them at the very end as well, but this way we have more on our screen. And fees will go like there. And then column G here, I'm going to make it really small. So I'm just going to grab between it again and drag it over. It's going to be like a dividing line, and we'll do something with that later. Basic information. This is our table where we're going to input all of our data. So I'm going to take a highlight H1 to I1, and then I'm going to hit the merge cells option, which is right here. And that merged that together. And then I'm just going to highlight the whole table. So up from here all the way down to I9. And I'm going to just turn on some borders around that. So all borders button. I'm next going to merge these two for monthly contributions table, highlight all of these, and then I'm going to put all borders on. So that does that. So this one we'll be able to input our starting age, the age at which we want to retire. It will calculate here the years of contribution. So this is going to be a calculation. So right away, let's go ahead and make this, fill this color black and turn the text to white. That way we know not to mess with it when we put stuff in there. Average market return, we're going to be able to choose what we think the market's going to return to us in terms of profit. And over here, let me make J really small as well. Over here is a table that kind of shows you, hey, here's if you're being really optimistic, the market should return 7 to 10%. On average, over the entire life of the market, it's been at 10%, but lots of ups, lots of downs. If you're being conservative, assume more between that 5 and 6 point something range percent. And if you're being pessimistic, which means you don't want to overestimate how much you're going to make, you can do that 3 to 5% range. And that's going to go here in the average market return. Average inflation is over here again. If you're being optimistic, that means there's going to be low inflation. Remember, inflation is bad for your investments. It tends to erode their value away. So 2 to 3%. That's kind of the target range that the federal government wants it in, is down in this 2% range. A conservative inflation is like 3 to 4. That'll take into account that sometimes it's going to go high, sometimes it's going to go low, but on average, 3 to 4. If you're being pessimistic, you're like, ooh, the economy might be rough for a while, 5 to 7 is where you want to put your number. Know that these are all going to erode your savings away. They're going to take away money from you. And then this last one, okay, so that's average inflation. And then your fees for having it, every retirement account is going to have some fees. If you choose one with high fees, that's 1.5 to 2.5%. Normal is 1 to 1.5, and low is 0.5 to 1. And we'll be able to see how fees affect our retirement savings here. So we'll choose one of those. And again, you'll choose which mutual fund or which fund you want to invest in. So you'll choose like which fee you want to have, free range. Age, death. So you're going to estimate here how old you're going to be when you think you're going to die. Like that's a super weird thing to do, but you're going to have to put something in. It's one of the unknowns about retirement that makes everything really hard. And then this will be a calculation for years of retirement. So what we'll do is take your retirement age and subtract your death, and that'll be how many years you're going to be retired for. So again, let's go ahead and make the fill here black and the text here white. Awesome. And the rest of it's things that we enter. Monthly contributions, these are all going to be calculations. No, they're not. They're going to be things you're going to enter in. So you're going to say for the first 10 years, how much are you going to contribute to your account every month? And real quick before we move on, I'm going to come here and I'm going to highlight this, Control B for bold or bold up here. And then all of these headings, I'm going to bold them as well. It makes them pop a little bit on the page. Awesome. And so your first 10 years, we'll assume you do the same amount for the first 10 years. It'll probably be something small because you're not going to have a lot of money. And then as you get more raises and earn more money, you'll up the ante here and you'll be able to play around with these numbers to see how that affects your overall retirement. All right, this next one, the results, I'm going to highlight H18 and I18 like this and hit the merge cells button. And I'm going to make that one bold, make all of these bold, all the way down to the bottom. And then I'm going to add a table borders around them. And notice here my H cell is a little bit over the edge, so I'm going to move my H out just so it has income and retirement filled in completely. And whoops, I need to do my borders real quick. All borders. Awesome. Now we've got that done. And what this is going to do is going to be a results table. So these are all going to be calculations. And so I'm going to turn them all with a fill of black and a text of white. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is come over here to this table. Again, you're going to merge the top ones. Average inflation, merge that. Fees, merge that. Come back through and hit borders around all of them. So we're just getting practice right now, formatting spreadsheets and kind of getting a feel for how to do that. Awesome. Let's not put any around this big table over here. Let's not put any borders in because we need to see how far down we're going to go every time. All right, let's put some starting values in. So let's say we start saving at age 25 and we're going to retire at age, I don't know, 67. Let's just put that in there for now for testing. If everybody does the same values, we'll be better off. Average market return. So what do we think it's going to be? Actually, let's go over here. I'm going to bold this and then all of these as well. Bold, and then bold all of those, and then bold all of these. So average market returns. Let's be conservative. Let's say that we're going to be in that 6% range. So over here, I'm going to type in 6% and hit enter. By putting the percent symbol when I type it means that Excel is going to read that as a percent, and we don't have to use any weird percent calculations. Average inflation. Let's be between optimistic and conservative. So let's do that like 3% of inflation each year. And then fees, we're going to choose one with fairly low fees. So let's go like 1%. And let's all do the same stuff so we can see if our numbers agree and see if our calculations are working. All right, age at death. Ooh, how old do you want to live to? I don't know. I'm going to put 95. That's a ripe old age. All right, so that's that. Now, years of contribution. This is how many years you're going to be putting money into your account, and that's going to be the difference between your retirement age and your starting age. So I'm going to just do here equals for a calculation. I'm going to take my retirement age, and I'm going to minus away my starting age, and I'm going to hit enter. And that gives me 42 years to save up for retirement if I start at 25 and end at 67. Now, years of retirement, that's going to be what you die at minus what you retire at. Those are how many years you'll be retired. So I'm going to do equals my death age, which is super, super sad, and my retirement age, and I'm going to hit enter. So I plan on living 28 years in retirement. So if I change this 67 to something bigger, notice that I'll have more years of contribution, so more years to save, and less years to have to pay for in retirement. All right, so that seems to be working. I'm going to switch this back to 67 as my retirement age. So make sure your numbers match my numbers. Now, my monthly contributions. Well, let's say I start out my first 10 years of working. I'm just going to put, say, $50 a month into it. And then my next 10 to 20 years, I've made some more money in that time. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to kick it up to like, I don't know, $250. And then 20 to 30 years. So that ends up being like $3,000 a month. So I'm not fully maxing anything out yet. So 20 to 30 years, I'm going to say, okay, let's kick it up to 500. And then let's just say, okay, I'm getting serious now. I'm going up to 1,000 a month between 30 and 40 years. And then above 40 years, I'm really going to get after it. I'm going to do 1,200, and that's going to max me out in my retirement account. So I'm going to start off really conservative early on at 25 and then go work my way all the way up. In fact, let's do this. Let's change this 25 to 22. Everybody do that. So now we got 2267. That would be an early age. That's like my first big job I get out of college, or after being out there a little bit, I got this job where I have this ability to save. All right, so those are our starting numbers. Let's start building it. So your age, so your starting age over here in this one is going to be equal to this starting age. So I'm going to go equals. Instead, I'm not going to type 22 because I want it to change if I change this 22. So I'm going to say equals, and then click on this one over here and hit enter. That's my starting age. Now I need to add 1 month to that because we're going to keep track of this monthly. So I'm going to say equals my starting age plus 1 divided by 12, 1/12 of a year. and that will give me a decimal number. And I'm going to say enter. So that is 1 month. So 20.0833 is 1 month. But we don't need that level of perfection. So I'm going to click on A up here to highlight the entire row. I'm going to click over here to decrease decimal places and then increase them by 1 decimal place. So here I'm 22.0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, all the way down. And now I want to just drag this down, and I want to go down to like row 600. I'm going to go to 75 years old. We'll build something that can model up to 75. Working past 75 would be really hard physically. So even getting to 75 will be really hard. So I'm going to come here, and that gets me to 76. I'm going to go back and erase to 75. So I had to get to 638 to get to the right amount. So row 638, that gives me, boom, all the way there. Now my starting balance. We're going to start our balance off at 0. And then our first month's deposit is going to equal this for the first 10 years. So I'm going to come here and say equals, and it's going to be this. And because I'm pulling from this table, when I copy this down the row, I don't want this moving down the column yet. I want it to stay on that cell. So I'm going to come back here and put a $sign before the I and before the 12, hit enter. Now I'm going to copy this down, but not all the way. I'm just going to copy it down until I get to the first, 10 years? Yeah, first 10 years. So that's going to get me down to age 32. So right before age 32, whoops. So 31.9, I'm going to copy that down into there. And then here I'm going to go equals. I'm going to come up here, and my next 10 years, 10 to 20 years is going to be this one. So I'm going to equal to that one, which is I13. And again, I want to get those. I'm going to click over here and put a $sign in front of both of those, in front of the I and the 13, to keep it on that cell. Hit enter. And that's going to be until I'm 42 years old. So I'm going to grab it and copy it down until it's 41.9 right there. And then I'm going to go into the cell 242 and hit equals. And then I'm going to come up here and find the next one, which is going to be, you start doing it logically, 14 is going to be next, and then 15, and then 16. So I14, again, I want $signs here, $sign here, enter. And that was 14, so I'm going to drag it all the way down to 51.9. And at 52, I'm going to go equals. Gosh, I think that might be right. $sign 14, and then whoops, except nope, that should be 15 because I already did 14. And that's at $1,000 a month now. And I'm going to do that until I am 62. 61.9. Come down here, copy that down, and I want this one to be 16. And that's at 1,200 at the very end. And that's going to go over to the bottom of the table. All right, now we've gotten all of those in. So every 10 years, we're pulling a different number from the table. Okay. Oh, let's do this real quick. Monthly contributions. These are all dollar amounts. So I'm going to come over here and click on the $sign here to currency minus dollars. And then I'm going to come down here and do 0 decimal places. We'll just do whole number dollars for our deposits. Now, earnings. This is where things get a little complicated. So the earning is going to be what you started with, in this case, nothing, plus what you put in. And then you're going to get earnings on top of that. So it's going to be equal to what you started with plus what you deposited. And so closing parentheses, all of that together. And then we're going to do times our average market return. So we got 6% returns, but that's an annual return. Divided by 12 gives us our monthly return. Okay. None of this is new to us. We've done all these calculations before. And I'm going to add a $sign before the I and the 5 because I don't want it to move down every row. I want it to stay there, right there. Okay, I'm going to hit enter, and that's going to put that in. And then inflation loss. So, and then I'm going to increase this one up a couple decimal places. So you can see here I have 2 decimal places. Now I earned 25 cents here, which is why it was 0 to start with, because it was rounding up to the nearest whole dollar. Inflation loss is equal to this. It's again going to be balance plus deposits. I'm going to actually put an opening parenthesis. I'm going to say balance plus the deposit. So the total money I have in my account. And here I'm going to go inflation loss. I'm going to use my inflation percent. So it's going to be times my inflation number divided by 12, because it's an annual number. We want the monthly number. And then a dollar sign before the I and the 6 to freeze this cell on the table, and hit enter. Now fees is going to be the exact same calculation. It's based on my balance plus any money I put in this month. And I'm going to do it. Oops, I forgot my opening parenthesis back here. And then I'm going to do this all times and my fees of 1%, again, divided by 12, because that's an annual percent. We want the monthly. Dollar sign before the I, dollar sign before the 7, enter. If we do that, okay, so that takes away the first row. So now next month's balance, here's what's going to be equal to last month's balance. I'm going to do, yep, I'm just going to do adding last month's balance, right where we started, plus the money we put, whoops, I didn't do plus the money we put in, plus how much we earned from our profits, minus how much money we lost because of inflation, minus the fees. And I'm going to hit enter. And so my balance, I notice here that is rounding to the nearest whole dollar. I want to actually see the dollar. So I'm going to come over here, 1, 2, like this. And then over here, this one, I'm going to say, hey, it's a dollar amount. And this one over here is also a dollar amount. So I clicked on F and then clicked on dollar amount. The whole row will go dollar amounts. So you can see in my first month, I got $50 in there. I actually made 25 cents of profit. Yeah. The problem is inflation took away 13 cents of that 25. So a little over half my money went to inflation. Bummer. And then my fees were another 4 cents. So out of my 25 cents of earnings, I lost 17 cents to inflation and fees. But hey, I made 8 cents this month. So that's a good thing. So now what I'm going to do is just take this value and take it all the way down the table. I'm going to highlight the cell and then double click on it. And that'll copy it all the way down. And I'm going to click on B up here and tell it it's a dollar as well. So it has dollar signs there now. And then my earnings, I'm going to highlight all 3 of these cells here from D2 to F2. Double click on the little blue square there and it'll copy them all the way down. And now I have this ginormous table with all this stuff in it. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go down to the bottom of my table, find the bottom of yours. Mine's at row 638. Click on the lower right corner and then drag to the very top of the screen and highlight the entire table. Now we're going to insert our borders. In between the A and B, where you get the left right arrow, double click. That will, whoops, click off first so you're not highlighting everything, and then double click that. That'll do the size of each column based on the size of the stuff inside of it. So you can see some of them get bigger, some of them get smaller. Everything is happy. All right, last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to bold this. And boom, everything looks good. So we're almost done. Hang in there. So starting balance, that is going to equal the very first cell on our table. So I'm going to hit equals here for starting balance, and that is this one. Enter. So we started with no money. After 5 years, we're going to hit equals, and we're going to come down here to the 5-year mark, which is when I'm at age 27. And I'm going to come find 27 and click on there. Enter. And then this next one, after 10 years, I'm going to do equals. Whoops, that was totally wrong. Let me back that up. Go back up to the 5-year mark. Go down and find age 27. I'm going to do an equals first. Sorry. Screwed that up. Go find age 27, and we're doing the balance cell, that one right there. How much money do we have at age 27? 5 years after retirement. Okay, after 10 years of retirement, we're going to go equals. And we're going to come down and find age 37. And there's age 37. So we want the balance at age 37. Enter. And then after 15 years, so let's look at the pattern here. We're going from B62 to B182. And now we're going to go equals B142. Enter. Let's leave off there, and we will finish up the rest on the next video.